by the door. And have everyone take a look at that if they wish. Roll call.
Oshner,
Yes.
Shelkoff,
Yes.
Donovan,
Yes.
Kleinschmidt,
Yes.
Lightline,
Yes.
Maloli,
Yes.
Nunn, yes, Delmeyer.
Yes. Need a motion for a declaration of a legal meeting. Mark. It's moved by Mark and seconded by Randy that this regular meeting of October 8th be declared a legal meeting. Roll call.
Lightline,
Yes.
Kleinschmidt, Shelkoff,
Yes.
Donovan,
Yes.
Maloli,
Yes.
Nunn, yes, Oshner,
Yes.
Delmeyer.
Yes. Don't need any excused absence. This is a portion of the meeting that we use for public comment. If anyone has any public comment for the board. Okay. Then we'll move into reports from administration. Mr. Rose.
I really don't have anything really to add other than my information that I sent out. You know, it's been a good first quarter. It's been a fast first quarter. But kids have done a really nice job with their activities. We've had a lot of things going on in the classroom. So it's been a good first quarter. Hope we can just build off that for the rest of the year.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Rose? Thank you.
Just to add that we had honored August and September Student of the Months. We combined the 2 months. 5th grade was Elena Madison, 6th grade Lauren Moniford, 7th grade Nate Schropfer, and 8th grade is Marissa Nunn. All students are very deserving of their honor. Just an emphasis, again, I've had it in the report on the Stomp Out Bowling Day. We continue to emphasize and have some constant conversation with our students about bullying, about how it impacts our school environment and that sort of thing. So we've made that an emphasis this year. That's it.
Questions?
We had over 350 guests on Grandparents' Day, so it was a busy day at the elementary campus. So I hadn't mentioned how many we had. Our next times it might be fun for you to stop by, get a lot of interaction with kids and parents. This Wednesday after school is our last fun run of the fall. It won't be again until spring. And this Friday morning will be our monthly assembly, and we'll do recognize class examples of the mission statement and birthdays and school song, and talk about our next emphasized character trait of respect. So that'd be another great time. You'd be welcome to come. So, any questions?
I didn't have a whole lot, did I? Election Day, Tuesday, November 6th. Most of you probably know that. The school board convention is November 14th through the 16th at the Embassy Suites in Omaha. We used to reserve rooms and then we just cancel them if people didn't go, but they don't let you do that now as rooms are at a premium. So you have to register before Jody can reserve a room. So if you want her to register you for the conference, and just give her a call, and then she can also reserve a room. There may not be rooms at the Embassy Suites, but there are other close hotels and motels around there that she can do that with. Other than that, must have been a really boring month. I don't have a great deal for you, so that's it.
Questions?
I'll just take that. Is anybody else going to want to come on for the other board members? I know there's one that's planning. Well, March what?
It's usually around the 20th. That's
Yeah, well,
time.
last year I was trying, it'd be nice if we could go, not as a group, but just about board members. I'll see if I can make that work.
Okay.
Let me find out.
Okay. I always go in March. I've gone to this one before. I prefer the one in March. I don't plan on going to this one.
Well, from what I've talked about.
Yeah. It's more of the smaller school type thing.
Okay, and we'll move into action items. Minutes of the September 10th meeting. We need to Jan and seconded by Jim, that the board approve minutes of the September 10th, 2012 budget hearing, tax request hearing, and regular Board of Education meeting. Discussion? Roll call?
Shelkoff. Donovan.
Yes.
Kleinschmidt.
Yes.
Lightline.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
And yes, Oshner.
Yes.
Delmeyer.
Yes. Need a motion for the financial reports?
So,
Second.
Jan? Moved by Dave and seconded by Jana that the board approve the financial reports as presented. Discussion? Roll call?
Oshner.
Yes.
Shelkoff. Lightline.
yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
And yes, Donovan.
Yes.
Kleinschmidt.
Yes.
Delmeyer.
Yes. General fund claims, the new total is $100,859.03. Need a motion?
Second.
Mark? Moved by Jim and seconded by Mark that the board approve the general fund claims in the amount of $100,859.03. Discussion?
It was two more claims that we added on there, that's why the total's different. Lynn also wanted me to let you know that we didn't get any bill from the NPPD because it's early in the month, so we'll probably be paying a double bill next month.
Roll call?
Donovan.
Yes.
Lightline.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
And yes, Oshner.
Yes.
Shelkoff. Kleinschmidt.
Yes.
Delmeyer.
Yes. I think we have a building and grounds report before the next motion. Someone want to do that?
Yeah, we met, and we're going to propose a couple of projects for the coming year. One would be to clean up the middle school grounds. Some old bleachers, right, some old bleachers and a
Posts,
a
concession
post,
stand.
concession stand and things like that. And also to build a new press box at the high school here. Replace the old one and make it bigger. There's a couple other things we're looking at, high school, the lights in the parking lot, and maybe some handicap accessible bleachers. We don't have bids on those, so we don't have a recommendation as of now for those.
Approximate cost for the clean up the middle school grounds is $2,000 maximum, and then for the press box, it would be somewhere around $15,000.
Do we need that?
Yeah.
And do we need to talk about what, we're gonna have some sort of paving. We haven't got the bill yet for that, for out by the bus barn.
That's from last year. Yeah.
Last year, yeah, we just haven't,
Yeah.
we've approved it, I guess we don't.
They've never invoiced or billed us anything yet.
And
I'm
we're
guessing
gonna,
that's
we
coming
still haven't got a bid on the wheelchair lift
for the
the
shop.
shop area. I mean, these things are approved, but we just don't have a bid yet, and also we'll still replace the lights and floor rooms. So, but the only new projects, I guess, that would be approved would be the middle school grounds and the press box. And we felt the press box, could be a liability issue. You know, there's, a lot of times there's at least 6 people up there, so.
So Jim is making that motion.
I will move that we approve those two projects. There we go, thank you. I'll second it.
Sean? Moved by Jim and seconded by Sean that the board approve the building fund projects as recommended by the building and grounds committee. Discussion? Roll call?
Donovan.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Then yes, Oshner.
Yes.
Shelkoff. Kleinschmidt. Lightline.
Yes.
Delmeyer.
Yes. discussion items. First one is facility update.
Yeah, I think I enclosed to all of you from Thayer Central's newsletter that they're doing a bond issue in November. It has some similarities to the one that we did. They're doing it in two, they call it propositions. Proposition A is a new, connecting the intermediate high school buildings and with the gymnasium and competition gym, and then there's some other things, locker rooms, and there's some classroom remodeling, whatever. And then they have Proposition B, which is a theater. And the way they have theirs worded that, like if A passes and B passes, they'll do them both, of course. If A passes and B doesn't pass, they'll do A. But if B passes and A doesn't pass, they won't do B. They won't do B unless A passes. I thought that was kind of something I hadn't heard of before, but that's how they are taking a look at that. Similar thing, the cost is a lot more. They must be doing a lot more with classrooms than ours, but Proposition A is 11.1 million and Proposition B was 4.8 million, so they're right at 16 million, just a hair under with theirs. So I'd be anxious to take a look at it. Mr. Rose and our two science teachers met with two gentlemen from the architect firm, and they had a discussion and some wish list and equipment lists, and took a look at the 3 rooms, and they're going to come back and they'll have something for us maybe to look at the November board meeting. Jim, is that right?
That's correct.
So, and we had some questions, Jim, maybe you can answer a little bit. Is all the gas outlets working down in the science room?
There'd be some renovation in those also.
But are they working right now?
I think they're working. I think probably the bigger issue is the plumbing than with the gas itself.
So do we have hot and cold water, do you know, or just?
We do not have hot.
What's the reason we don't have hot, do you know?
I'm not sure.
But we should have hot.
We should have hot.
Okay. Have councils looked at that, you know?
I don't think they have. Not to my knowledge, anyway.
So, anyway, we'll have something more for you in November. Anybody else that wants to talk about facilities, this is kind of an open-ended, you know?
What's nice is, thank you, Mark, for this, for also looking there, Central, but one of the other things that Thayer Central just did was put in a new field and new bleachers, and it's very nice looking.
Have you seen
Plus the track. We'll be hosting our conference track meet this year, and I mean, I drove down there just to see it, and it's like, okay, I've got to see this thing, and it is, yeah.
Last spring, we were supposed to be the first football game out there.
Where the old track, right behind the school, they redid everything. So now, not only did they done a football field, track, and now we're going for this. So it's like, wow.
They didn't do a bond, did they, for the track?
No.
That's what I was just gonna ask.
You know, what they did was they got some of these nice farmers to donate corn.
I didn't know what they did. I know
Yeah.
when we went down to basketball, there were some things out there. And I didn't have any
It wasn't all donated, though, was
No.
it? Just,
It was interesting how they did that.
Wow. I haven't seen
You know,
that.
'cause it was right out for hashtags for those folks. Didn't raise no levies, they said, let's hold back on that, if you guys go this direction, we'll do this. And they were able to work with each other as a community and say, let's get this done. So,
It's a great job.
Anything else about facility? The second discussion item is superintendent evaluation.
According to the timeline, at the October Board of Education meeting, you should have each got a copy of the evaluation in your packet, so I'm just making sure that that's been done. And the evaluation framework, if you need me to review it, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's satisfactory or unsatisfactory, and there are, I think, 7 standards and an 8. The 8th standard is fill in the blank, improvement, the areas you'd like to see improved. And the timeline then at the November Board of Education meeting, you need to bring that completed form to the meeting. And it says the board will meet in executive session for the final discussion item on the agenda for the purposes of completing an evaluation that represents a consensus of the board. Board members will visit with the superintendent in executive session to ask questions in an effort to gain facts for the purposes of completing the evaluation, and then the superintendent will be excused and you can finish working on the consensus evaluation. And then it goes through on that Dennis, board president, will deliver the evaluation and sit down with me at a time that we agree to, etc. So you should have also a copy of that timeline. So October, I think we're done with what we need to do. You have the evaluation, and I reviewed the timeline for you, so I think Dennis we're probably done with that part unless everybody has a question.
So we fill out all the standard up to 7, or do we can do 8 too, right?
Sure.
But
Sure.
then the next page, the overall, we fill that out. That's after we accumulated
That is a group
type, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yep, there'll just be one evaluation that Dennis will go over with me, and that's it. That's you guys pounding one out together there,
And so
so.
then that last page, those 2 open areas, that's for after we visit all
Yeah,
together.
you go.
Yes, I have a question, yeah. Satisfactory and unsatisfactory in comments, and 1 through 7 or whatever. As far as comments, what does the rest of the board feel, if you put a U unsatisfactory, I guess I'd like to see a comment.
Right, I would too.
So when we get together,
I think
they'll
that was
have
kind
a-
of a
as
general
satisfactory, I
consensus,
guess,
that
to
if you
me
say
it's-
unsatisfactory, you should have some
should have a
for
reason
saying
as to why, if it's satisfactory, you don't have to make a comment, is that,
Mhm.
Be nice, but
well, I mean,
unsatisfactory, I would say would be necessary.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of how we want to do it, but I guess that's what I'd like to see, but that'll make it easier when we get together too. Okay, why do you feel this?
Mhm. Any other questions about the evaluation? And the next discussion item is art/social studies.
We talked about this last month, and both Mark and Sherry were absent, so I think what we had suggested is that we talk about it one more month. The majority of the board seemed like they felt that this was a good thing, but I'll kind of repeat what we went over last time. And, those are the 2 areas that I think, this is my 8th year here, and that time is that we're probably the shortest on in the high school area, is that, or our K-12 area, I should say, is that art. We currently have a half-time art teacher. Exeter Milligan gets shared the other half, and that art teacher basically, I believe, teaches 2 classes here at the high school and then goes to the middle school for 1 or 2 classes, two classes, and then on to Exeter Milligan. We have no art in our K-4. Social studies, again, social studies is a core course. We have 2 English teachers, 2 math teachers, 2 science teachers, and then in social studies we only have 1, and we feel like at least a half position in social studies would help. Right now we transport a social studies teacher from the middle school, leaves up there and comes down here for teaching 1 or 2 periods a day, 2 periods, Jim says. So that would add greatly, I think, to our staff. I think these are 2 things that people have asked for in the past, and in the past we've not been able to always afford it, but I think in the last, especially 2 or 3 years, we've certainly put ourselves in good position. And my recommendation would be that we add them, but we add them in increments, that we do art first and add that for next fall, and then social studies the following year, just so we don't get any problems with the constraints on our levy and budgeting, that we do it over that 2-year period.
is more history. I know that the art was cut. Did we also cut social studies, and how long ago was that?
It's been quite a while, Sherry. Doug Rung was the social studies instructor here with Stan Meyer at the time.
So it was when Doug left.
Yeah.
That's been a while.
Well, actually,
Was that
I think
before the
Scott-
merger or after? Scott.
Scott Friesen was here. Might have been after Scott Friesen left.
Okay.
I think reduced.
I think looking back through a lot of the material since the merger, which was 2000, we've reduced like 13 positions. We've added back, FFA when I got here was half-time. I think we've made that full-time, and home ec was, or what do you call it, family consumer science,
Or
sorry.
FCS.
It was half-time, and we've made that full-time, but we reduced the media. We cut the media position from 1 to 0.5. And the only other thing we've really done is when Strang closed, we brought in that teacher as a 1.0, which we've since reduced that to 0.5. And Darcy Balzer's in that position now. So we've made a little progress back, but we certainly don't need all 13 positions back. But I think we've at least, this is the point that we at least can do some things. It'll certainly help in scheduling, and certainly would provide something to our elementary that they currently don't have at all, which would be the art. So I think it would be good things, and it'd be very, very minimal cost, and add good things back to our school district, things that people have asked for.
So then we vote on it next month, and if we decide to put it on this,
We would vote on it next week, if that's the board's wishes, yes.
So what you're proposing then is for the 2015-14 year, we would add in that part-time art teacher, and then the following year do the social studies,
It would actually make art full-time.
right?
It's 0.5 now, and we'd make it 1.0.
Right,
Yeah,
and the same with the social.
The social
I mean,
studies,
it's
we
just
would add 0.5. We'd have 1.5 social studies teachers then
But
for
you're
the
doing
following
it
year.
in 2 years.
Yeah, I would like to, yeah. I think, I worry about adding a full position with the way things are, and I don't know what the legislature will do in the spring, and I don't know that we ever know. And so, there's a 1% increase in parts of your budget, so you just got to be very careful with that. So I would prefer we do it over 2 years, and just to spread it out a little bit, share the pain a little bit.
So we'll be okay to vote on that at the next meeting? Okay. Board policy review.
If you turn in your sheets, I think we're through the 5,000s now, which means that next month, anything that anyone checked in the 5,000s, we'll review those particular policies. And I know there's some because I checked some myself, so we will have some to review over there. Thank you.
And the next meeting is scheduled for Monday, November 12th. Does that work out?
I didn't write anything afterwards, so I must have looked, and it must look pretty, I think there's maybe a junior high basketball at 4:30 or something, but I think that maybe that's all there is. So normally I'll write something if I thought there was a conflict. I think it's probably the junior high is probably all there is. I think there's a 4:30 junior high, but that should be okay for us at 7:30 meetings.
We need a motion for adjournment. Randy. Moved by Mark and seconded by Randy that this regular board meeting of October 8th be adjourned at 8 p.m.
I got 7:50.
7:55.
It might be a record. Roll call?
Lightline,
Yes.
That's a record.
Oshner,
Yes.
Sharkowski, Donovan,
Yes.
Maloney, Nunez, Delmeyer.
Yeah.